Hey, Coupley Fit fam. Welcome back to another episode. We are so excited for this discussion. We're going to be talking about 10 ways to be a better partner for your spouse.
So we've seen some viral clips that have just been released where some spouses have been really, getting some things off their chest. They've been really letting their partner know and really letting the world know how they feel about how things are going. And what's interesting is it's been more of the wives than the husbands really putting their foot down, saying, I need some more help. This isn't good enough. And so one of the clips was a wife talking about how basically she's a mother of four, and her husband, they both work full time, and basically her husband has not been helping her with the basics, dumping the trash, emptying the dishwasher, because when she's
helping
getting
with the kids,
helping with
that was
the big one, because she's saying these things help her when she's helping the four kids, which she's responsible for the household and the kids, getting them ready, getting them to school, all of these things.
And she's a CEO as well,
And
correct?
She wasn't a CEO, but she does. Her and her husband both work.
Okay.
So it's like these are her duties before work, and she's like, I'm burnt out. She expressed it. It wasn't enough. People in the comments, I thought it was interesting because the guys in the comments were pretty ruthless, basically saying, what is she complaining about?
Oh.
The man's working hard all day. Because she did say, like, he's loyal.
Yes.
He's trustworthy. Like, all of those things are great. He works. He's a provider. But
hopefully basics, right?
so that's the thing.
Hopefully.
Some people in the comments were saying those aren't the basics.
Okay.
These are above and beyond. And I think that's a part of the conversation. So what do you think is like the basics above and beyond? And I think that's a part of the dialogue of the discussion of why it went viral, because the ladies are saying these, like, what she's asking for is like bare minimums. And the fellows are saying she's asking for too much.
Okay. Well, I think first we need to get into the mindset of the men that are discussing in the comments, right? True. It's giving, I'm only a provider and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to necessarily be in the household and contributing in other ways because I bring home the chicken.
Well,
okay. I'm bringing home the money.
What is being? See, that's what I was going to say. Being the provider only. What does that look like? Like, what does that mean?
You know, and obviously you would know more from a male standpoint than I would, but in my opinion, I believe it would be, I go to work, I focus there, I get a steady paycheck with benefits, whatever that looks like, your compensation package looks like, and I bring it back home. And that's what my contribution is to not only this family, but also to you as well as my spouse, is I provide this lifestyle for you. If I, as a woman, am also working, I would say I'm contributing to this lifestyle as well. So if that's the case, then we need to be working together more as a team in the household, because we always talk about, we talk a lot in sports metaphors and things like that, where if you are a husband and wife team, and we're just talking specifically from our viewpoint of what we know, then it needs to be a situation where we are coming together and we're working as a team. Somebody may be the head coach one day. Somebody may be more of, a player. Somebody may be more of a GM. Somebody may be more of a head coach, kind of going back and forth on what that looks like. And I think that actually goes right into our first tip that we have.
Okay, I'm ready.
Right? So first is going to be cultivate self-awareness.
Oh, being self-aware is key.
Being self-aware is key, where you're able to self-reflect on, okay, what am I contributing to the family besides money? Besides on the monetary side, what else am I doing to be able to contribute to this family unit? And what does that also look like? But I think that does have to be a conversation that you have with your spouse on what are the expectations. Ooh. And when the conversation is then had, I need you to live up to those expectations. Ooh. Right? And now, again, it's the reason you have a conversation and you go back and forth is figuring out, this is my expectation. What's your expectation when it comes to household chores, when it comes to taking care of the kids, when it comes to, how we plan for the future, whether that's retirement or if we want to purchase a larger home, whatever that looks like. What does that look like for you? And what does that look like for me? Let's find a middle ground. Or even if there's some times where I may not budge on a certain thing because I simply know that this is a stressor for me, and I need you to help me not have this be such a stressor in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it reminds me of a saying that unexpressed expectations lead to resentment.
Yeah.
And I felt like the video I saw, there was resentment that was built up because she expressed how she was doing or feeling about the situation, and there wasn't changes, right? And maybe you're listening and she said, oh, he said, yeah, I'll help you, but then forgot or something else came up. I think to the point that you're making is there was what you see on TV a lot of times is like it is enough to bring home the bacon or make the money. You come home, my dinner should be ready, be able to put my feet up on the lazy boy, kick the feet back, cold drink. Where's the cold beverage?
Oh
And that's like, I think what some people think, but you made a great call out. It's not like she was home all day just chilling, waiting for him to get there. She's also working as well. And so there is that balance. And I think it can be overlooked because a lot of time the responsibility falls on the mother or the wife to take care of the kids. But imagine 4 kids. I mean, that's what I was thinking about when I heard her video. I'm like, think about getting 4 kids ready for school, having to bring 4 kids downstairs, get them packed, get them ready, get them out the door.
Yourself as well.
Yourself as well, because you're getting ready
I'm
for
working.
work, right? And you're also like, the trash is full, it's overflowing. I'm looking for this sippy cup that was supposed to be cleaned and, rinsed out. That's not ready. So I could see how that could be like, and again, it on one end, I could also understand where people feel maybe as if like it's not that big of a deal, right? But it's like anything, the little things become big things.
Absolutely.
And that's where when they're not expressed, or if you're not actively listening to your partner, it leads to a bigger problem. And I think that's where a lot of times that disconnect is. But you said something earlier about the expectations not being expressed. And I think that's a really big thing because right now what we see more and more, and you see with athletes, a lot of these stars, is, it's not tricking if you got it. Mm-hmm. So you meet somebody, you're throwing big money, you're doing these lavish dates, lavish lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you get married or you're, together, and it's that expectation was set that you were going to continue to.
This is the lifestyle that you're going to.
We were supposed to be on
me.
private jets, 5-star dining. Now you're like, we need to be on, buddy pass. We need to be on, sitting in the back of the plane, or we need to just make it more modest. And sometimes that's a complete different standard or conversation than what you initially started with. So I think setting the tone early of like, what do you expect, I think is really important.
Absolutely. Because again, to your point, if you're not expressing the expectations, what are the goals, right? What are the goals for each other? But what's the goal as the family unit? Where are we going, right? And so to your point of what you said before, where my dinner should be on the table, I should have a cold brew ready for me. I feel that personally in this day and age that we are in 2025, that is a very almost old school way of thinking because of the amount of women that are now becoming not only working, but becoming the breadwinners and making more money than their husbands. And so now we're also seeing that there is a shift where there's now house husbands, where husbands are staying at home. And so roles are reversing in that way. So now it becomes, okay, well, if you're not bringing the monetary aspect, then what are you doing at home to be able to make this easier for the person that is, making more money at that time? But then also, again, it just comes back to the team unit. We have to work as a team. This needs to be, how can we get this to be seamless? Right. I feel too, you were talking about before the viral clip, she was mentioning that she told her husband, I need you to, empty the dishwasher. I need you to maybe help me pack the kids' lunches, and I can do the breakfast in the morning. Because he asked her, how can I help you? Yeah. She told him, this is how you can help me. And time after time, he wasn't doing it. And that's where we can go into our second way of being a better partner, which is to listen, but actively listen, which we talked about in a couple of our previous episodes, where you are attentive when you're listening. So it's going to be something we say to each other is, if it's a point we want to get across, we say, I need your undivided attention at this point. And now we both know, okay, put everything down. You have my undivided attention. What do you want to say? I'm present and I'm in the moment and I'm listening. But then it also allows you to be able to reflect and respond without judgment. Because again, although you may not see that, not helping with the lunches is not a big deal in the mornings, I'm telling you it's a big deal. And so you need to almost look at what I'm saying and give me the benefit of the doubt that although it may not be a stressor for you, it's a stressor for me in the morning. And this will be able to help me not only move swiftly in the morning, but it's going to help decrease my cortisol. If we're talking about health and wellness as well, women, within your first 30 minutes of waking up, your cortisol instantly spikes because now we're already thinking, oh my gosh, what do I have to do for the day? I have 4 kids. I need to get them all ready. I have to brush their hair, brush their teeth. I have to hopefully, my husband helped me out today, but then I get downstairs and, oh man, the dishwasher is not empty like I asked. The lunches aren't made like I asked. So now I spiked again, and it's a constant cycle. So I personally feel everybody in the households, in the sense of guardians or spouses, should be able to know how to do everything, in the sense of you should be able to, as a male, you should be able to also know how to pack the kids' lunches. You should also be able to know what homework needs to be done. Like, are you present in the household to help each other out and be my helpmate?
Yeah, no, when you talk about the helpmate, and I think about, like, this hits close to home for me too, because I didn't see, like, growing up, I didn't see, male figures in my household, dad or granddad, doing many dishes. Nah. Or cooking many meals. They definitely weren't house husbands. That was not the norm. Yeah. So to that point, it's like, what you see and what your conditioning and exposure is
correct
can sometimes lead to expectations that you have going into a relationship and a marriage. And that was something that we had to work on. I remember early on, you had to, you were like, hey, you want 3 squares a day, but you don't want to do any dishes. And I was like, they are stacking up.
You don't want to cook. You don't want to clean. I do see You're sitting over there playing Madden, just like, is my meal ready? And I'm looking at you like, sir.
I'm starving. I'm starving. And then I realized, like, you know what? That's not fair, right? And in any situation, it is a partnership. And we do have to collaborate, right? We don't have to, but we choose to, and we should collaborate. So what does collaboration look like? For us, it looked like me helping with the dishes. Like, you're gonna cook, I don't mind doing the dishes or loading the dishwasher. So we literally did some very basics that I think this can be it's simple, but can be a breakthrough for somebody. What is maybe the barrier for your partner to doing that thing you're asking them to do? So here's something that's this is personal, but kind of like interesting. Okay. I don't mind doing dishes, but I don't want my hands to be wet with the dirty dishwater.
Yes.
So I got to have gloves. As soon as I glove up, I can do dishes for hours.
Right.
I can literally watch all of my YouTube.
Right?
I literally watch my interviews. Yes. I watch Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions. I could watch 2 hours of interviews, catch up on the whole week, and now all the dishes are done. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think about that until, like, we sat down and I see on your face and your reaction what that empty sink and those dishes being clean, and now the chances are that next meal is going to be even more fire because you're like, I've got the whisk, I've got the bowl, woo, I've got everything I need, versus like you're trying to do it with a fork versus a whisk because it's dirty.
Yes, and to your point, we did have to have that discussion. I mean, that was probably our first. That might have been our first 4 years.
We say critical conversations?
Critical conversations. And then also just on the cleaning the house side as well, because that's another major fight for couples is the division of housework or house chores. Who's going to do what and how often are we going to do that? And the other thing too is when we talk about the active listening is if I'm telling you that, hey, these are some of the ways that you're going to be able to help me, if you forget maybe 1 or 2 times, okay, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll give you that grace in that moment, but I don't want to have to always tell you to do something because now I feel like you're a child and now I feel like I have to mother you. Yeah. And that's who wants to be in a relationship like that where you are the female and you're taking care of the house. You're the CEO of the house. I'm taking care of the kids, I'm working, but then I also have a husband who I feel like is another child that I have to take care of. That's not something that women go into marriages thinking of, nor I'm sure that they want. So I think that will go actually into our next way of being able to be a better partner for your spouse, and that's going to be practice honesty. And I feel that goes right into the listening that we talked about before.
Practicing honesty isn't always easy.
It's not easy.
So if you're going to practice honesty, we've got to be willing to get uncomfortable at times.
Well, if we do the first thing, which is cultivate self-awareness, we can be a little bit more honest.
That's true. And me being aware is like, ooh, you called out the dishes and I'm looking over and they're stacked up.
Stacked.
So like I can be aware, I can listen, and then I can also be receptive to the fact that it's a safe space. I'm not going to tell you, well, man, so-and-so, I didn't watch my granddad or my dad do dishes, so why do I have to do dishes? No, like I'm going to understand the fact that you're literally cooking the meals. You also are, working. There's all of these things going on. This is a way that I can help, and I can just set aside some time. And this is really a pro tip for the fellas too, is that the reminders. Like you mentioned, I tell you something, like, are you going to implement? Treat it like work. If your boss tells you, hey, on Monday, have this over to me on Monday by noon, you put it on your calendar, you write it down, you make a sticky note, you do all of these steps to remember. Or if it's sports, man, I got a team meeting, the game start, like you don't miss the game. Like we're locked in. So put that on the calendar. Like, hey, I need to make sure the night before my routine, I got a reminder at 7 p.m. Like I'm going to unload the dishwasher and dump the trash because I know these 4 kids are coming downstairs in the morning and this is going to help out my wife. And this is something that she expressed to me. So you can use the reminders app on your phone. Like there's things that you can do, or your calendar, or just write it down old school to not forget, but it helps you not be in the doghouse.
You're absolutely correct. And I think if we change the mindset as well to being a helpmate, that will be something that, okay, again, you're going to be in a servant leadership role where it's how can I serve you and be also a leader in the household as well, because you have to, like, your kids are looking at every single thing that you're doing. And although we don't have kids yet, we've been around multiple parents. I've been around a lot of women that talk about their marriage and their kids. And so over these 8, even 10 years of us being together, we've heard so from one extreme to the other extreme, but it is almost the same things that we're hearing over and over again. And so I think if you're able to also speak straightforward, though, that's something where the more you beat around the bush, the more you are not being very just direct in what you want the other person to do or what your expectations are. Again, doing it in a way that is compassionate. And I'm not if you are in a place where it's a resentful place, then maybe it's I text it over to you in as long text messages. Maybe I go and get a card from the dollar store and I write in that. Or maybe I sit down and I take you out to eat and it's just like, hey, I want to have a straightforward conversation. We're out of our space, so it doesn't feel so you're looking over at the couch and it's like, oh, we just had a big fight over there, and so you can kind of get out of this space as well. But I think speaking straightforward, this is how I feel, this is what was done, this is how I feel about it, this is what I would like to change. I feel like if you kind of have a cadence of how you are expressing yourself, then not only will the other person understand you, but then it becomes, I'm not getting lost in what you're trying to say. I'm not trying to figure out, well, did she mean this or did he mean this? What was the underlying, kind of tone or the underlying, what's in between the lines? It's like, hey, I told you exactly what it was. And then if it keeps happening, that's when, if something does end up, hopefully a fight doesn't happen, but if it does, why, right? Like I've told you this multiple times over and over again, and maybe you need to write it down in your phone. Maybe you need to, like you said, have the reminders, because this is getting frustrating. This is getting, it's upsetting me too. So I think that's another great way to be able to practice honesty within your relationship, and maybe even taking it a step further and being transparent. Because you can be honest about something, but if you're transparent, it might be, hey, what you said was a trigger for me because of something that happened in my childhood. I didn't realize it at the moment, but now I realize, like, this was a situation that happened, and as soon as you said this or as soon as you did this, it brought me right back to my 5-year-old self. I feel like that's being more transparent than just being honest and saying that hurt me or that upset me. And that is, it's just another way, again, to go just a little bit step further if you're practicing honesty.
Yeah, I think understanding the why is always like big, right?
Absolutely.
Like just saying, hey, I need you to, man, dump the trash or unload the dishwasher. It's like, oh, you're barking orders at me. But if you say like, hey, the 4 kids, they're running down the steps, they're thirsty, they're crying, they're this, we're trying to get out the door, and I literally need this item. and it's dirty and I got to wash it. I got to stop. Now we're late. I can see that in the steps and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't sound like a great experience. How can I help you? Versus feeling attacked that, again, I'm getting this directive. But something that I thought you did a great job of when it came to like our discussion when it came to the dishes was it was the sandwich method. And it was essentially coming in with something positive that was like the bun on top.
Yes.
Which was basically like, hey, I appreciate all that you do. Like, you work so hard. Man, like, you're amazing. I appreciate you. But I really need your help with these dishes and like sweeping up around here. And I'm like, okay. But again, the bun on the top like warmed me up to like, oh, you appreciate me? I thank you. And then you hit me with the actual meat of the I have an ask as well,
Yes.
which is I need your help with these dishes. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I can definitely help you. And then it's like, well, amazing. And then you kind of close out with that bottom of the bun with something else that's positive, or we move on to the next topic. And I think that's a great way too that you brought it up without it having to be a fight. Because I think a lot of couples are maybe feel like they can't be transparent, or maybe they feel like
Sure.
they can't bring something up
Sure.
because it's that fear that this is going to be a fight, or this is
Yes.
going to become like, I don't want to ruin Friday night because I'm bringing up the trash or the dishes. And it's like, let's just have a good night.
Correct. Well, interesting enough, that's a great segue into the fourth way that you can be a better partner, and it's don't take it personal.
Ooh, one of the four agreements.
One of the 4 agreements. Don't take it personal. So something that I heard was attack behaviors, not people. So when you're speaking to somebody, like you were just mentioning before, not attacking the person, it's you did this, it's because of you that this is happening, but just the behavior. Hey, this is the behavior that I've noticed. This is the behavior that I want to change. This is a way that we can change that behavior. And to your point, starting off with a positive, you're already putting somebody into a space that feels a little bit more open, right? Rather than if you start off with the negative, I have my walls up, I'm feeling defensive, I'm not really listening if you think about it, right? I'm not actively listening. I may already be tuning you out and I'm like, okay, blah, 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 blah. But if you are not taking it personal and if you are attacking the behaviors and not the people, one thing that we always say is charge it to my head and not my heart. I'm not intentionally going out of my way to do this. I may not even have recognized it, but I just ask that you please give me a little bit of grace, give me some time to also make the adjustment. But then if it is something that happens over time and I'm not, continuously doing it, then we can have a deeper conversation of, oh shoot, you know what? That was just like a really busy season for me. I apologize for not, doing what you asked me to do, and making it more of a conversation than I'm coming and trying to attack you.
Yeah, no, it's a great call out. And I appreciate that you mentioned that, because I think about we've been able to get better at those things over years, because it wasn't
takes
like
time.
year one. We're just
No.
like sandwich method. We got it. Like, no,
And we were 25 and 26 when we were married. So you're young, you're in your 20s, you're figuring things out. And so you are, because again, I'm just quickly, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but quickly for me, I know when you talk about conditioning and exposure, my mom was doing it all. I mean, she is cooking, she's cleaning, she's taking us to all the games and the practices, and she's making the money, she's doing it all. And so then I thought, well, I have to be able to do it all, because that's what I saw my mom doing, not realizing that there's other ways to be able to guide yourself through the challenges of being kind of the CEO of the house, also being a CEO in a company, at least for us, right? Also being a mother, or a daughter, a cousin, right? All of those things. There's different ways to be able to navigate through that, and you don't have to do what you've seen. You can make a change, but it has to be an intentional change, and you have to be conscious and have that self-awareness piece to, like you said before, where you were seeing your dad and your granddad, that they were, this is how they grew up. You're like, you know what, but I can make a change. I don't have to be like that. I can almost break this cycle.
Yeah, and this is giving yourself grace too, but also realizing that it doesn't have to be the way that it used to be.
Yes.
Like, just because they used to do it that way, or because so-and-so said that's how it has to be, or you heard it at the barbershop, doesn't mean that, you're soft or you're weak because you dumped the trash, or because your wife asked for help and you went and helped the kids, or whatever that may be. Like, I feel like that's unfortunately, that's a lot of toxic dialogue that I feel like a lot of guys have listened to and thought that was real life. And then you
Toxic
go back to the
masculinity.
You go back to the barbershop and you find out the guy that told you that's been like divorced and lonely for 40 years. And you're like, dang, why did I listen to Steve?
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, you know, listen to the guy that's married. And he's like, no. And it doesn't have to be happy wife, happy life. It could be happy spouse, happy house. But these are the things in the framework where you're actually building on that foundation so that everybody feels that it's a safe space. And that can exist. Just sometimes it takes being intentional.
Absolutely. And I think that is another great segue into our fifth way to be a better partner, and that's to argue constructively. Ooh. We talked about this a little bit in, I believe, the first episode.
What does that mean? Because so many people right now, I think argue, and automatically something pops into your head. So what does constructive argument look like?
Yeah. I would say one of the ways to be constructive when you're arguing is that we want to have a win-win outcome. I don't want a win-lose outcome. There doesn't have to be a loser in this situation. First off, we're married, so we should be wanting to win together and grow together. And then I also think another piece is the effective communication. And how does your partner receive feedback? If, just like we mentioned before, if you notice that when you come with a negative first and your partner shuts down, well, let's switch that. Let's come with a positive first and say, you know what? I've been seeing you actually make an effort. Because that's also another thing too, is like, are you making the effort as well? And if you say, I'm noticing that you've been making an effort, I really appreciate you putting the dishes away. I really appreciate you cleaning the car, getting gas. It's really the simple things. Make my life easier. Like, if you are making my life easier, then I don't feel like I'm not getting so frustrated where I'm coming to you instantly in the moment of frustration. And now that argument is maybe not constructive and maybe it's not effective because I'm so overwhelmed and overstimulated. That's a lot for women too, is you're so overstimulated by what's happening that a lot of times you are just frustrated in the moment and you lash out. And it does take hard work. It takes the self-awareness, the self-reflection to try to control those behaviors and emotions, but no one's perfect. We're human beings. And so we have to give ourselves that grace, but being able to develop a new mindset that will help you grow together is another way that I think that you can argue constructively.
Wow, I think that's a really good point. And I think about arguing constructively, and I think about us. One of the best things that we did, we have like our code word when like someone's tone has been raised, because it happens. It happens. Sometimes you say it with your chest and you're like, who are you talking to? Like, who are you talking to in here? Yes. And it happens both ways. But like, we literally will say tone ranger, which means your tone was out of range. I felt like we were getting too many octaves too high. Let's bring it. And that already is something where it's not, because if you start raising your voice and the tones get high, now we're trying to match who's going to get the last word.
I'm trying to get my word in.
Who's going to overtalk the other person. Now we're arguing and it's becoming more heated, which isn't good. I think another big tip, and I see this a lot, especially on social media, but this is something we've never done. And I'm like, we never talked about the fact that we've never done this, but I'm so glad that we're going to share it. But we've never called each other out of our names. Ever. Like no B words,
never.
Never. FUs, never. And I feel like that's something that has become so common, where people just talk crazy to each other and it becomes normal. But I didn't play like that with friends. Like, don't call me a B.
Don't call me,
Don't call me
no.
Any of those things. Like, those are fighting words.
They are.
Like,
they are.
What?
I'm on the defense.
Right? I'm on the defense. So I like to say that for couples too, because if you're talking to your spouse and you're cussing them out or you're calling them out their name, you're already setting a stage that is not constructive conversation. It's not a constructive argument. It's not effective, versus coming to the table or sending a text because your tone might be elevated, or going in the other room, or cooling off, or even writing a note or something to be able to convey, this is how I'm feeling, or I'm sorry, or I'm going to be better at this, without jumping off the deep end and allowing things to really escalate, because that's where it gets out of hand.
Yeah, when it starts getting the escalation. And now, again, going back to conditioning exposure, if you were around parents that were constantly arguing, that were raising their voice, that's what you know. And that's what you also may think is healthy. Or
if you're watching reality TV, you're watching the Housewives, man.
The Housewives. We used to watch
Love and Hip Hop. You watching Love and Hip Hop.
Oh my gosh.
I think Ray J and Princess. I'm like, this is love. He done pushed her in the pool.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
She was fully dressed. Their cameras rolling. I was like, is this the relationships? And that's what people think is like, that's goals.
Yes, exactly. And again, I think that we were just talking about this actually on the way here, where we were saying, like, where are the role models, right? Like, where are the
Will and Jada used to be,
Will and Jada used to be one. I'm trying to think who else, right? We obviously have like Michelle and Barack Obama, but we're like, where are the role models of people that have put in the 50, 60 plus years of marriage that you're able to give us the keys of, hey, these are the ways that we were able to make it work? Because again, a marriage is not going to be linear all the time. It's not going to be constant. You're going to be thrown curveballs from all over the place. How do you deal with that? And if you have to really start from the foundation, and if that wasn't your foundation when you got together, then just continue to work on it, right? It's one piece at a time. It's building blocks, building blocks. Keep building on the good habits, and then you'll get to a point where now when you're faced with the difficult decisions or you're faced with the difficult conversations, you have those building blocks to be able to have the effective communication. And to your point of what you said before of arguments, something that I've said before in, I think it was episode 1, I said, I'm not going to go back and forth with you. If you're raising your voice and if you're already at a point where you are not going to be able to hear me and hear what I'm saying, this isn't the time to have the conversation. We will like separate ourselves for a few minutes.
Sometimes I can argue, y'all. Like I got time today. I'm here for it.
And you're petty. So
I can be just a little petty.
And so we are a little petty for sure. You're a fan. It's 3 generations, fan of the foolishness. So again, if I realize that, I will say, I feel like at this point in time, we're not going to be able to have the conversation that needs to be had. Let's separate for a moment, but let's come back to it. Don't let it fester, because that's one thing we asked, divorced couples over the years, and they said, it's those small moments, it's those small fights that you let fester and you don't talk about that build up that resentment and build up a wall. It really does end up becoming a wall, and now you're walking past each other in the hallway.
And sometimes some people bumping each other. And what makes it even worse too is that they won't have the conversation with the spouse, but then we'll go have a conversation with your aunt or your cousin or your friend or your mom.
Yes.
And now they're looking at your partner crazy.
Yes.
Right? Walk in the hair salon, everybody rolling their eyes. And you're like, dang, what did I do? And it's like, well, she's been telling all your business that she hasn't been talking to you about.
That's right.
And vice versa. It can be the same thing. And I think to that point, and I want to say too, there are examples. It's just unfortunate that the examples that are positive don't get talked about enough, like the LL Cool J's and his wife, the Morris Chestnut, like where they've been married 30 years, 25 years, and they're not, in the drama or anything negative, but we see like, the drama and the craziness. And I think people think that that's okay because it's like, oh, I looked up to them in that situation. So I love that we're giving some examples of like, this is what have helped us in our journey. And it's not just like, oh, this might work. Like, no, we've actually implemented these things.
Yes. And again, we're 8 years in. We are not on that, 20, 30, 40 year mark yet, but we have made it such a point to be able to build on our foundation and build a healthy way on our foundation. But we did have to unlearn quite a bit. And, being in therapy, something that I have heard from my therapist over and over is you are reparenting yourself. And that's so powerful because, again, your parents are your idols, right? Like they're your first role models. They are setting the stage for how you should act, react, have conversations, everything across the board. And so if you are having to then reparent yourself, not only is it extremely difficult, but when we talk about that self-awareness piece, when you have to start self-reflecting and saying like, oh, shoot, okay, oh, this is me. I thought this was the other person the entire time, but this may be me. And that's hard to do. And that goes into the honesty and transparency that we talked about before, where you have to be honest with yourself, transparent with yourself, and then relay that to your partner in a way that still allows you to be vulnerable, but in a way that's where you are now, right? Like meet yourself where you are currently, and you'll see that it's going to just continue to flourish when you do just keep chugging at those healthy behaviors in your relationship, and give yourself and your partner not only the benefit of the doubt, but the grace as well, because you're learning, you're relearning, I should say. And it's difficult to do when you're relearning anything. I know for us, you know, we're trying to both learn Spanish right now, and it's like, gosh, I wish I would have paid attention in high school when I was learning, because it's hard to have to relearn something or to learn something. So,
was something that you said on the unlearning. I think one of the big adjustments that I had to make, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but like in my mind and what I saw growing up was like, once you get married, like you're married, that's your wife, like you got her, like that's it.
Job is done.
Job's
Wipe
done.
my hands clean.
Check. We're in it. Versus in seeing it now, because it's almost like, you know, it's crazy. Marriage is almost like the transfer portal in college now. Like literally at any point, man, it's like this guy was playing for USC. Now he's playing for Alabama. Like where did he go? This was last season. But that's almost how you're seeing people jump from like marriage or relationship or things like that. But what that told me and shifted my approach into relearning was like, it's almost like you're on loan. Like your partner is like, you have to continue to put in that work in your relationship. It's not just a automatic and I can just expect that like they're going to be there. And that was a shift for me.
Especially with social media.
Oh man. So the shift for me was like, okay, not only do I want to put my best foot forward, but I want to continue to date my wife. I want to continue to enjoy spending time together, right? I want to continue to be like, we're building on something and putting the effort in, versus like, you kind of just, you know, let the plant there. You're not watering it, but you're like, it's supposed to grow. It's supposed to stay right here and just, you know, up. But that's not how it works in real life, I feel like.
No, not at all. And taking that a step further, we've mentioned this multiple times, is even where we are now in our relationship, but then also in life, we feel like we've had 2, 3, even 4 versions of ourselves.
For sure.
And so now you are trying to, in a marriage, you're trying to figure out, how does this new version, first off, what does it look like? Second of all, what does the interaction now look like between us? Because again, when we were 25, 26, that's not what it looks like at 34. Correct. We've had a lot of life lessons. We've had a lot of things happen in our life that has made us rethink and also put ourselves into a position where, okay, what may have served us when we were in our 20s doesn't serve us now in our 30s. So how do we adjust that? How do we make that adjustment? And some of that is talking about the expectations, but continuously talking about your expectations, whether that's an annual thing, whether that's something every 5 years, whatever that looks like, but talking about, hey, this is where I am in life. And I know you've maybe been noticing some shifts in me. This is where I am. These are now some of my new expectations. And I know for even us, we were gifted the 5 love languages.
Huge. That
was incredible for us to do when we were first married. And quality time for me was one of my major, that was like number 1 for me actually. But now that I'm, 34 and I'm seeing that life is not only getting faster, but we're doing so much more now. Acts of service is a little bit more important to me now. That's a little bit more of my love language. Yeah. So I think, again, just looking back at, we don't need to be stagnant and rigid and this is who you are and you're never going to change, because that's not true. That's not human nature. We do grow, we do evolve, whether it's positive or negative. And how do you grow together is the key, because we've heard time and time again, especially when kids leave out of the house, now all of a sudden we're going opposite ways. We didn't grow together when we had the kids, and now they're gone, and we're looking at each other and that wall of resentment is there. We're walking past each other. I'm looking at you like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be in this anymore. Yeah. And but if you're continuously working on your relationship, then that could be something that is minimized, or that you are just making an effort to show that, hey, I'm still in this. I'm going to be in this for life, because marriage is for life. And we're going to work together. We're going to do this together. We're going to grow together. Yeah. But again, I'm always going to say, give grace and benefit of the doubt.
No, but the open communication and the open lines even give you an opportunity to go down that path, and really being willing to adjust, right? Relearn. Because if we're not, it really puts you at a disadvantage because you're not giving yourself that chance.
Right.
You know, you're not even allowing your partner to open up. Something that I love that we do, and you prompted this, where we have like our end of the year, you know, we're vision
Yes.
boarding, we're doing different things, but at the end of the year is the perfect time where you have that little break
Yeah.
in December. But we'll go out, we'll do our typical date night, but we'll also look at some questions to see basically like, where's your tank? Where's your love tank? Where's the emotional tank? Where's the acts of service? Like for each love language, how, like, and we both will ask and respond, which I think is big of us, but we think about it, you do it at work.
Yeah.
You do your performance review.
Come on now.
It's like, hey, how A, B, you know, you get it in school, but like when our relationships, we won't necessarily do a self audit or even collaborate on like, hey, where can I serve you better? How can we be better? What are some things that we can do to continue to grow and be your helpmate? So I think it's just really powerful, and I know it's gonna really help some people too, just like seeing how it can evolve and you can still grow together. It doesn't have to be, oh, one person's successful or you're both successful and like you got to be doing your own separate things.
Yeah, and that's actually a great way to, on an individual side, sometimes you need to figure out yourself first, and let me figure out actually where I am, my new mindset that I'm having, these new shifts that I'm having in my spirit. Let me go and plan time away. That's going to be another tip that we have, because it's easy to get lost in a relationship, as we just talked about before. I know I've mentioned that, I believe in some of our previous episodes, where when we first got married, I did feel a little lost in the relationship. There were some other things that were going on behind the scenes. And I remember just thinking, like, where do I fit in? I don't know where I fit in. I know who I am, but where do I fit into this equation? And sometimes that time apart can be extremely valuable, even if it's just, you know, I mention this to moms or people that are in a relationship where have that solo date, have that time where it's maybe an hour or 2 hours where you can, you know, somebody can watch the kids and support you in that way, but then go out and see, you know what, like what does my heart and my spirit kind of want me to do at this time? Maybe I want to try a new activity. Maybe I want to try something that I've been wanting to do since I was a child. Maybe I want to I used to love to sing when I was younger, but I haven't sang in some time. Maybe I just go to karaoke by myself, like, you know, and try things that are going to add value to you, because then that's going to give you the space to add value to the relationship, because you're able to then express your expectations in a different way because you are doing that work. And it's that little bit of the shadow work where you are looking into the shadows of yourself, where it's, you know, I haven't looked in this space in a while. And this is hard and it's uncomfortable, but let me just see what this looks like, and what are the lessons I can get from this? Where can I grow from this? And how can I also bring this into my relationship?
Yeah, I really like that too when you say that time, because for me, the gym is that space for me. When I get a chance, by the time I get done, whether it's running, Stairmaster, elliptical, after that cardio's done, like my whole mindset, I might have, what I initially thought of the initial dialogue or conversation or what we chatted about after the workout, I'm like, I've got a little bit of a different take on that now,
Right.
just because I've had time to think through it. I got my workout in, I processed it, I saw it from another vantage point. And something that I realized too is that two things can be true.
Yes.
And so often it has to be black and white. And that was an unlearning for me, was that it doesn't always have to be black and white. There's not like one right, one wrong. Like, she could be right that she wants you to dump the trash. You could also be right that like maybe you forgot. Like those two things can be true, but how do we get on the same page? And I think that's where there's opportunity to, whether it's step away for a second, go get your workout in, go sing or do karaoke, maybe go and enjoy some time where you can kind of step out of the situation. Because it can be tough when like maybe it's a little bit heated or there's a, you know, that healthy dialogue, right, and conversation, but you're like, we're sitting here together now, it's a little awkward. Let me actually go and like get that workout in and come back, and maybe, you know, that's kind of opened up the space to dive back into and like really move past it onto the next thing.
Right. And have a little bit of me time, right? Like that's really what we're saying. But if you want to do something, I do suggest having that conversation with your partner in advance of just, hey, this
you don't want to just get up and walk out.
You know what I'm saying? You don't want to just get up and walk out, especially if it happens to be after, you know,
Not a good
a
look.
fight or something like that. That could be a little
Yeah, it's not a good look.
That could be misinterpreted. So I
The
think
locks could be changed when you get back.
okay. So plan some time away. I think that's a great way to just be a better partner for your spouse, but be a better partner to yourself as well.
Yeah.
So then going into the next one is learn your partner's stressors.
Oh.
Ooh, my goodness.
First thing that came to my mind, and you hit me with this, which I love, and I think this is for like kids, but I feel like it applies to everybody. But I think it's HALT. Is that the acronym?
Yes.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I was like,
it's supposed to be for kids, but no, but this is.
I was like,
we are grown.
I was like, am I 6? Am I like a kindergartner? Because
I'm hungry.
And I feel like I'm a little bit irritable.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what you say to me right now until I eat something. I'm like, I'm on edge.
Yes.
So to that point,
what makes your partner anxious or upset?
But
knowing that.
But what I realized, similar to, and I don't know if this is how kids respond to it, but when like you get asked, like, "Oh, are you hungry? Like, are you lonely? Are you tired?" And you really think about it, and you're like, I'm one, if not all three of those right now.
I know. I've been fighting my sleep this whole time.
Tired. I've been tired all day. And so like it ends up almost like taking down a barrier a little bit of being like, no, like that's it. It's actually not this. Like that was misplaced or displaced, and I'm actually like I'm starving right now. I've been intermittent fasting, and I'm just like snapping on everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that was the root. So I just think to that point, finding that way to communicate, but also like identifying, is the thing, or is it really just like HALT?
Correct. And going back to the viral clip that you were talking about earlier, she was saying the stressors for her was mainly in the morning. Yeah. The morning is very stressful for me, trying to get 4 kids up, trying to get their breakfast together, their lunch together, get them out the door, get myself ready. That is a major stressor for me. This is a way that you can help. Yeah. And I just need you to follow through. And that's really what we talk about. Because again, you may not agree with somebody's stressor. Like you may not agree that my mornings are that busy, but I still need you to validate it. Yeah. It's not, don't invalidate how I feel because you don't agree with it. And right. Don't avoid it because you don't agree with it. Like, let's really talk about this head on, because what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to have a more, maybe calm. I don't know if that's the right word, but have a more just calm morning where I'm not starting off stressed. I'm starting off very eased into my morning. And the amount of women that I hear that are saying like, I would love that. That would be absolutely incredible if I didn't have to stress so much about almost everything. And we've talked about invisible labor before on previous episodes where men are not being tasked with okay, what's going on in the kid's life? Do they have recitals? What about the amount of practices that they have?
Do
you know their social security numbers? Do you know the last time they went to the doctor? Do you know, okay, so this is our day. I need to be ready by 4:15 to get the kids ready, to get the kids at practice by 5. I need to pick them up by 6. Literally, that is the mindset of women constantly every day of, okay, what do I need to get done? Why, what time? I need to plan it out. And I don't think men know that that's what's going on in women's heads. And so when we lash out, it's like, whoa, that kind of came out of nowhere. What's going on? But I'm playing all of these things in my head of the stressors that are happening. And I just need help. I need to help me. I need somebody that is going to see that the kids are going to eat the same thing every morning, or the kids are going to have the same, kind of lunch or something like that. Like there's some consistency. And so I just need you to kind of leverage yourself in there and say, okay, well, I know that she gets these water bottles ready the night before. I know that these are the lunch boxes that I can already have out on the counter. I know that this is what I see her do, or that she has expressed to me. And this is how I'm just going to do it.
And I think, so I know we've given a lot of feedback for the husbands and the guys, and I think there's something that is the next step. When the husband does dump that trash or unload that dishwasher, and for me, like we kind of mentioned petty, and I don't think this is a petty thing. It's just more so like, if it don't get acknowledged, I'm going to bring it to your attention.
Yes.
Did you see?
Yes.
That trash was emptied earlier? Did you see that? So like,
which is appreciated, because sometimes you do forget. It's again, life is lifing, and you're going through the motions. It's like, oh my gosh, I did see that. I'm so sorry I didn't say something. I appreciate you so much. That helped tremendously. Thank you for listening to me.
Because now, instead of it being a negative reaction, the husband is seeing what positive reinforcement and how great being able to help out in the mornings,
Yes.
how beneficial it is. Because you get a text with the reaction of like, thanks so much. Today was a
Right.
breeze. And you're like, oh man, it was that easy? And it was just 15 minutes of like dumping the trash. But I think that's the like the full circleness of you expressed what you wanted. He helped, but now like I appreciate you helping versus like you help and you're like, oh, it didn't even nobody even noticed.
Yes.
I'm in here, I'm in here doing all the dishes. Nobody said anything. But I think that's kind of like that other piece.
Yes. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I feel like as women, when we see that our husbands are actively listening to us, they are being helpmates, they are trying to make our lives easier, they're listening to our stressors, they're helping out with our anxiety. It's like, listen, I'm more willing to give up the goodies. I mean, I'm up. Like, I'm ready.
I'm here for the goodies.
I mean, I'm ready
for
to
the-
give
I'm
up
here
the
for the
goodies, okay? Because again, I have more I'm not as tired.
So you saying you ready? I'm ready to glove up.
Glove
If
up.
I need a glove,
Okay.
bring on my
listen,
dish gloves.
Listen, we may have to take a break in the middle. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So then this goes into the next one. We have 3 more kind of tips that will be able to help you be a better spouse. And that is prioritize your spouse's priorities and show up. Woo.
That's a big one.
That's a good one.
And I think
we've kind of been touching on it
We
throughout
have.
the episode, but
Big time. And I think just showing genuine interest, right? And I think about a lot of times there's things that if you're listening, that your spouse cares about. And if you are listening, you can show up for that. And it can be something super small where we're talking about like, hey, I love this show or I love this game. Like it's a Super Bowl. Like I'm fortunate that you love football and sports just like I do. But if you didn't, like you still, some of the shows I watch, like certain things you're like, ooh, I wouldn't watch this, but you watch it with me. And I feel like that's on the small side of like a sacrifice or showing interest and showing intrigue. And that's something we can do together. I think the same way it applies to the bigger things. If your partner is in a program or studying something or like, even if you like, it's not your cup of tea, you may not like Harry Potter, but like, hey, how's the book going? Like,
Right.
tell me more.
thank you.
And just listen for a bit, right? And I think sometimes those little things get overlooked when we're in the relationship. But what I want to tell, especially the fellas or anybody in a relationship, go back to when you were single. You were listening to all types of stuff when you're texting and you're trying to get that date or you're trying to hang out again or you're trying to get to know the person. You're like, oh.
You're very attentive.
What are you up
the
to?
The effort you're putting
the
in,
effort
come
is,
on.
good morning.
Good morning, beautiful.
Good morning, beautiful. Picture, emoji. And then it's like you get married, 2 years go by, 5 years go by. Now it's like I'm not sending those emojis. I'm no longer sending the gifts. And I think that's that point that I was mentioning that I unlearned is you need to keep dating your spouse, not feeling that you've got to the final destination. No. We're building together. Like this is a journey now that we're on together and we're going to this next spot, but we've got to make sure we're on the same page.
100%. I think also to add to your point, telling your spouse that if it's important to you, it's important to me. Ooh. So simple.
Something that came to my
so simple but so effective.
So simple but so effective. But something that came to my mind to that point. If it's important to you, it's important to me, and that is also prioritizing your partner. Because there's so many times where we see that the partner gets put after maybe your mom, after your best friends, after work, after all of these things, and it's like, wait. Let's prioritize and remember that like we are together, we're one, we're a team. And this is aside from like faith, like God, you are the next most important thing in as far as your partner and your spouse. So I think that can be lost sometimes in like all the things that are going on in the day-to-day and in life. And it's like, no, let's get back focused on the main thing.
Yes. And interesting, that goes to something that I wrote down, which is when you're prioritizing your partner's priorities and you're showing up, that can look like being reliable, being dependent, being a partner that I can lean on and count on. I know that if I maybe am dropping the ball somewhere because I have so many balls in the air, that you're going to come up behind me and you're going to pick that up. Because it's one of those things where, again, I feel as if we are partners in this. Like a marriage is a partnership. If there's an area where I may be lacking or I'm just not able to get to it right now, like, can you please come up behind me and back clean up, right? Like if we want to go back to a sports kind of metaphor, but can you back clean up? I need to be able to depend on you, because if I can't depend on you, then I know a lot of women that say, I don't rely on my husband. I don't depend on him because I know he's going to drop the ball. And that's really sad when you do hear something like that, because this is somebody that you have made a commitment to for life. And so if you feel like you can't rely on them or depend on them, really count on them, then it becomes, can I trust you? And now when we start talking about trust in a relationship, it can get closer to there is no relationship.
Can I tell you what blew my mind though that you told me recently?
Yes.
How many mothers and like wives don't trust their husbands with the kids?
Yes.
Like, I don't trust him to watch them by themselves.
Yes.
That was beyond, we don't have kids yet, but like that was beyond me.
Yes.
Like what? You have to be supervised with your own kids, and not like in a supervised way, but just more so just because you don't know what you're doing. To me, that's like, we got to step up. That's for the fellas. We got to step up. If it's because we don't know how to change the diapers, or like we don't know how to feed, or we're just not watching, like we got to lock in. Cause there's
right, and you don't know how to deal with a toddler tantrum. And
like, cause you can't put all that pressure on one person, because that goes back to the.
Am I a single parent?
That goes
now?
back to the That goes back to the resentment though, where like
course.
I had to deal with this entire problem, but you're here for the birthday and like the basketball game.
You want to be the good parent, and I'm the bad parent.
Ooh.
That's something else we always hear. Ooh.
Go ask your mom.
Go ask your mom, or you guys aren't on the same page. Your kids play you guys, where it's like, I know that if I have this question, dad's going to say yes, mom's going to say no.
Well, he said.
And nobody wants to feel like the bad parent. We are a team. We should be on the same page. Even if we don't agree, we need to be on the same page in some way, shape, or form. So I think after all of this is said and done, and that people are putting in the effort, they are prioritizing and showing up in the relationship, is show affection and show appreciation. And that's what you were talking about before when you said, if I do the dishes and you don't say something.
Where the goodies at?
I am not feeling appreciated. And we all want to be appreciated. We want to be valued. I already knew. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. Because again, that's top of mind, which I also
Let's just be honest. Let's just be real.
I feel like that was something too in the first 4 years of our marriage, where you did feel as if, okay, well, if I am doing some of these house chores and if I am folding the laundry, like, it's an expectation. It needs to be on deck, ready. I need to walk in, and it's here.
It's on the floor.
Never mind. The cherry lounge is ready to go, you know? And I think that's something that a lot of women we're not thinking like that. We're thinking, oh my gosh, you just helped me. Thank you so much. That's why I want to give you some more of the goodies. Not like, you should be, it's an expectation. Because when it starts becoming an expectation, it's like, okay, hold on now. Like, you're helping around the house. We both live in this house.
Sure.
We both are, eating off these dishes. We both have dirty laundry. We both need to like vacuum the floor.
Two can do it.
Two can do it.
It's a team. It's teamwork.
Right, which is why you do want to tell your partner how much they mean to you. Yeah. And I know something that we do every day, randomly, we'll just say, babe, I love you so much. We'll just say random stuff like that. Or just, I appreciate you so much. Randomly, almost every day, we'll say something of that nature to each other, just to remind each other that, like, hey, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. 100%. And something else that came to my mind, and this is, I'm giving away like a game right now, because the fellas... One of the biggest game changers, and it reminds me, and I'm shout out to my moms, because she used to write like notes in my lunch, like, have a great day,
that's sweet.
Like, hey, enjoy your lunch, right? Home cooked lunch, I appreciate it. But this is the pro tip is, if you have a sticky note, this costs you like no money. It'll take 5 seconds, but write a quick, like, I appreciate you, or thanks for breakfast, or just whatever it is to your partner, to your spouse, on a sticky note, and just put it on the mirror in the bathroom. So now when she wakes up, she comes in and she's looking in the mirror. She sees a note from you that says, I appreciate you. I love you. Have a great day. And it sounds like, so far. Man, and I really didn't realize how far it went until I saw your reaction to the note. And I'm like, oh man, I can do these little sticky notes every day. Like, now it's routine.
This is 2 minutes out of my day to let my partner know that I'm thinking about them. I am, in a way, showing affection for them as well. Because again, not all affection needs to be physical affection. And I feel like that can be misconstrued in a marriage. Yeah. When we are sometimes just having that quality time, we're sitting down on the couch, we have a glass of wine, we're by the fire, and our feet just are entangled within each other, and we're having a deep conversation. Like, that's another way of showing affection too. So there's different ways to show affection. But again, Like we've been saying, ask your partner, what type of affection are they looking for? Because some may be, no, I'm more on the physical side. Like I need to be skin to skin contact. I need to be touching you. Sometimes it's just, I want you to just think about me throughout the day. Just send me a note, just a quick text like, hey, I just saw, something that reminds you of a memory of the two of you, and I shot you a quick text about it. And now it's like, oh my gosh, this was so sweet. Like you thought of me throughout the day. That makes me feel really good, and that fills my love tank.
And it goes back to what we talked about earlier. When you were in the courting stage, you were sending them texts all day.
All day.
Gift, text, what you doing tonight?
Hey,
Can we go out this weekend?
hey.
What's up? What are you up to? Why are you taking so long to text me back?
Exactly.
Now you're in a full-on marriage. You got her. Girl of your woman of your
Come on.
dreams.
You work so hard to get.
And you not hitting her, you leaving her on red.
Or vice versa. Because there's a lot of women I know that are out there. Shoot your shot, girl.
You leaving people on red, and your partner's like, did you get my message? Did you text me back? Like, did you get your lunch?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes.
So like, I think there's just that opportunity to also have that reflection of like, man, appreciate what you have, and also like show that value and pour in right to your relationship, because you're gonna get that back out in the love, in the like your love tank or your relationship tank being more full. And I would say that's been really key in us continuing to like just build together, but also being happy. Like you don't have to be in a marriage and it's like the old ball and chain. Like, no, that doesn't have to be how it is.
That doesn't have to be it. And that does, we may need to do another episode, because we've been getting a lot of frequently asked questions about dating and how to choose your spouse. Like, how do I choose the right person? How do you know this is the right person?
I had a big criteria.
So,
we have to, that'll have to be an episode.
Listen, okay.
I want to tell you,
listen,
you
it almost didn't go past Dave and Buster's. We've talked about that.
Yeah, you did.
Don't look at me like that. Like we didn't talk about that. Like that's news to you. Speaking of which, last tip is check in. Is check in.
Yes.
So being thoughtful in your interactions with each other, being able to stay curious too. Continue, again, like we just mentioned, you're going to find new versions of not only yourself, but your partner, and stay curious and say, hey, this was something I've actually been noticing, which goes to being seen in your relationship. This is something I've been noticing, and, hey, do you start liking this product, or do you like this,
cologne,
this
perfume.
cologne, this activity, this, whatever that looks like. Staying curious, staying thoughtful, staying engaged in the relationship, I think is something that can be overlooked, but is so critical.
100%. No, I love that. And I'm glad we're going to talk about the dating on the next episode. So I appreciate everybody that's tuning in.
Yes. Quickly though, on the check-in, is how often do you think people should, or more so married people should check in with each other? I think it depends, right? It's kind of case by case on what you're talking about, but what would you? I
would say case by case, but I would say at the very least, I'm going to treat it almost like how would you treat work? You're doing check, like if things feel off, if you feel like the numbers is way off, like I need to check in every day, every hour. But if you feel like things are good, maybe it's a weekly check in. And again, I think what we talked about with date night, you should have date night. You should have date night at least once a week. And this isn't spending money. It could just be like you set up a picnic and that's
I'm here
so
for
like
it.
You're doing on that date. It should be phones away, devices away.
Away if you can, right? If you have kids, I understood, but
phones away though, because you're not talking to the kids. Having that conversation, that dialogue with your partner, because that can serve as a check-in without it being like this is a formal check-in. It's like you're having dinner and it's like, hey, I was like.
How was your day today? Oh my
gosh, and it
thank
happens
you.
naturally and organically. And sometimes for some people, I know this is going to throw your partner off just by like setting up the date night, sending that reminder, sending that note. She's going to be like, is everything okay? Like like, did you get a diagnosis? Like you're leaving love notes on the mirror, but those are game changers to show that you care and that, you're here for your partner.
Yeah, it can change the trajectory of your entire relationship when you just start making small changes. They don't need to be drastic. It's small changes. And that's what we talk about a lot with physical health too, right? Just small changes to that. But just quickly on the check-in piece, you said case by case, right? Trying to figure that out. But when it also comes to checking in with your spouse, finding an opportunity to learn something new about them, I think that's also another great way. And if you don't have the questions off the top of your head, Pinterest is a great opportunity to just type in, hey, what are some questions that I can ask my spouse at dinner, right? Those type of things where it's just taking a little bit of an extra step, a little bit more effort.
Or roses and thorns. What's one rose from today? What's maybe one thorn, just to get the dialogue going of what's a positive and a negative, so you guys can just start sharing. Because sometimes it can be like, oof, we're talking about work, we're talking about kids, we're talking about everything but like us and each other, but that can help you focus.
Yes. And I think two things. So number one is saying to your partner, when you ask them a question, do you want me to listen? Do you want me to solve it for you? I think those are kind of two ways too, because sometimes, especially for women, sometimes you just want to vent.
Yeah, I be thinking you want to solve stuff for me, and you just like, I'm just venting.
I'm just venting.
Like, I'm over here connecting the dots.
Yes, like, okay, well, maybe we can do this, or maybe we can figure it out. I'm like, no, I just want to vent because I'm just frustrated in this moment, and I just want to get it out. And again, I know that women, we speak more than men do. The amount of words, we speak double the amount of words that men do per day. So we want to naturally talk. So sometimes just listen. Like, we just want you to listen. Sometimes I do want you to solve, like, hey, I'm coming to you. I have had this issue, or I don't know where to find the resolution. Can you help me? I'd love your feedback on that. So I think these are all great ways. Just to quickly go over the 10 ways to be a better spouse: cultivate self-awareness, listen to your partner, practice honesty, don't take it personal, argue constructively, plan time away, learn your partner's stressors, prioritize their priorities and show up, show affection and appreciation, and lastly, check in.
Beautiful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Coupley Fit fam, for checking in. If you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. If you are watching us on Instagram or any other platforms, please follow us at Coupley Fit, COUPLEYFIT.